Welcome to Dancing Through It with your host, Leslie Cooney, the podcast where we share honest conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of movement. My guest today is Carrie Robins. Today on the Dancing Through It podcast, we have dance educator, choreographer, and adjudicator Carrie Robins. Our conversation, I know, is going to dive deep into student learning and the classroom setting, but I'm thrilled that you're here today, Carrie. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to be here too. There's nothing like having good conversations with fellow teachers.
I know. And we met while we were adjudicating together. And I have to be really honest. Again, this is like a theme every time I talk to somebody who I respect. I kind of had this, I was a little scared of you, to be honest, just based on, but again, it's just based on the adjudicator photo you see and the profile and sort of the online presence you know of, or even not even online presence, but just sort of the presence you know of them. And then I met you and we had a great time and I connected a lot with you. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't have to be like quite so nervous about meeting this person because you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I felt the same way. And when you sent me the little note after we were done competing, like, my heart was so warmed up because it is just like, we don't know what's out there or how people are perceiving us out there. And so it was kind of just like refreshing to be like, oh, I didn't realize I was putting out an intimidation vibe.
Well, right. I don't think you are. That's just the lens that I view people through.
And fair, because we all come into the space with our thoughts and whatnot. But it was like such a joy and such a pleasure. And I think
so much fun.
It was so much fun. And I think we sit on the same ideals in a lot of different areas when it comes to our beautiful dance.
Yes, which is part of the reason why I was like, why I got to talk to Carrie. Because I'm going to have to find people who maybe disagree with me, but and see how that goes. But we do. But maybe do you just want to let our viewers and our listeners know a little bit about you, your qualifications, or a little bit about your journey?
Sure. So I started dancing in a small town in northern Alberta, and I started really late in the grand scheme of things for most dancers. I actually didn't start till I was 10 years old. I didn't even find ballet until I was 12. And it was very much my dance teacher at the time saw how much I loved dance and was like, if you really want to take it seriously, you got to get into ballet class.
Right.
And dance was, I always like my first love. And I fell head over heels and got really serious about it really, really quick and did everything that I could do. Along the journey, I also started a Bachelor of Commerce degree because my parents wanted me to get a real education.
Right. Yeah.
And in my third year, I had a little bit of a personal crisis. And I was like, I was interning in a mutual fund firm. And I was like, I hate this. And all I was trying to do is figure out how to rearrange my schedule to be in the studio. Right. And I called up my director and I said, will you have a job for me? Like, if I take this seriously and go get some certifications, will you have a job for me? She's like, 100%. And that started my journey. I did my RAD teacher certification. A few years after that, I did my ADAPT, and I am a continuing professional development junkie, if you will. And every course I can take, I'm like, I just want to learn, and adjudication came into my lap, and I so enjoy it because it feels like an extension of teaching. So I did a bunch of certifications with that. And I'm currently in my Master's of Arts Education through the Royal Academy of Dance in Bath University because I don't stop learning. And then all through that, I've taught everything and anything. I do specialize in the ballet and jazz world. I like to say that I am a techie. I really love to meet a dancer, assess where they're at, and help them be as successful as they can be with the tools that their body gave them. And keeping them happy and healthy throughout it as well. So give me a dancer and I'm a happy camper.
I think it takes a certain person. I so relate to that. And I think just because of the journey that I've gone through now, that is the most exciting part for me. I'm like, yes, give me a dancer. Let me, like you said, assess, and then like, let's go. Like, what are your goals? Like, I'm here to like help you. And I think that's like, it takes a special type of teacher. And you see it, some folks really want to do choreography. You know,
Mhm.
some folks are interested more in performing and they teach, you know, it's sort of like a combo and they can bring that professional experience into it.
Yeah.
And then other folks are just like, let me get at this kid and
Yeah.
like make them the best
Yeah.
they can be.
Yeah, you like, I want all of the parts. Like, let's
Yeah.
assess all of the parts. And it
Yeah.
becomes very like anatomical or functional, if you will, and stuff like that.
Functional.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it's fun. I remember years ago, I can't remember what course it was doing, but they were talking about how people, adults, lose a sense of play. You know, kids play so naturally, and how you
Right.
can bring more joy into your life by playing. And I was sitting there thinking, and the question was, how do you play? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I have adult, well, young adult children at the time, and I was like, I really play. And then I went, wait, I do play
Yeah.
studio with
Yeah.
the body. I'm like, let's try this. Okay, let's move
Yeah.
this part over here. Let's take your transfer your weight this way. And I was like, there's my play. And I can see in myself when I'm in that space, it's like the best thing ever.
It really is. I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, that's also how I operate. And then I was also like, it feels like I just have grown up Barbies now. Like, like I was like, that's exactly what I used to do with my Barbies when I was like little. And now I'm like, I just have like human-sized Barbies now that can move on their own. This is great.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious, but
Yeah.
it's
But
a correct image.
yeah, you make a great parallel in in play as
Mhm.
adults and finding that in the studio because I think that can be difficult.
Yeah.
And some people might even
Yeah.
bristle at the word play when it comes to
Yeah.
learning outcomes and working in the studio and being an educator. That might, because I think, well, I don't know. I think I might have bristled at that word at some point in my career, and
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh, that's a given. We got to do that first.
Well, I think it's a couple parts to that because I think people equate play to disruption or chaos.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Okay,
And
expand on that.
okay, so I think sometimes we have to be, as educators, open to disruption because sometimes disruption is the kids in their learning process. The ideal of a dance classroom that is silent,
Yeah,
kids standing in rows,
yeah,
performing their exercises, is actually not how kids, especially kids nowadays,
yeah,
learn efficiently and productively.
100%.
They tend to do ballet class because they have to, because most
Right.
competitive studios require them to do ballet to compete, which is right because it makes them better
Of
and stronger.
course.
But they don't love it because they don't have that space of being able to be disruptive. And so, if we changed our frame of reference, that if your class is a little louder, a little more chaos, if you've got a
Yeah.
little more questioning
Yeah,
and challenging
questioning.
from the kids, it's actually a good thing because
Yeah.
that's them learning and that's also them taking responsibility for their own learning. When a kid comes to you and says, wait, Miss Carrie, this feels weird here when I'm in that whatever, that is the best thing on the planet as an
Yeah.
educator because it's a sign that the kid is in it with you and they're
Yeah.
taking responsibility versus you telling them your hip is still lifting on that side. Your hip is still lifting on, and them being like, oh,
Right,
you know what
right.
I mean?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. And to get to the point of having a student who can recognize that
Yeah.
something feels weird, I feel like that's
Yeah.
sometimes a bit of a gap too. And
For
you
sure.
need that safe, open learning environment where
Yes.
they can play, where they can experiment, where they can make mistakes, where they can be a
Yes.
bit chaotic. Because without that, they're never gonna, they have to figure it out.
They do. And sometimes we jump on them too fast with correction and we don't give
Yeah.
them that space.
Yeah.
And I will preface this by saying, like, it is structured chaos.
Right. Of
Right.
course.
Right. There is a bubble with when it's you're working and I mean you're not letting them run around like hooligans and like it's just crazy time. Right. So I wanted to preface that of like it's structured chaos, but
Yes.
there is that space, just like you're saying, where you allow them to fail, you
Yeah.
normalize it, you actually set up situations where they will.
Right.
So they have to figure it out. And you sort of
Yeah.
sit back and then you are there instead of being the dictator or the all-knowing being,
Yeah.
you become person that's standing beside them on their journey
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a
Oh, that's so
facilitator.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's very much, and I will say, Leslie, it's not um, how I've always taught. I think I
Right.
do, and I think there's times where being a dictator is actually the appropriate choice.
Right.
But I definitely have leaned myself into this space of I'm like, no, I'm standing beside them in this journey and
Right.
walking. Yeah, I think it's really important to be in that space with them, particularly our generations now. They're just much more anxious.
Yeah.
Um, so I think if they feel like we're with them
Yeah.
instead of over them, we
Yeah.
get, we get a better learning environment for sure.
Yeah, because what I've experienced is the students who do tend to be a little bit more anxious, they have a greater, not greater desire, but they have an outward desire to please, and they're also afraid to make mistakes because they do view you as an authority figure and they do want to please you. And it totally flips, and you're like, no, 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 like go the other
Yeah,
way.
like I want you to respect me, but
Yeah,
also you can not please me. You can fail here as
yes.
much as you need to.
The
Yeah.
amount of times I tell kids that I'm just like it it doesn't matter to me if you make a mistake,
Yeah.
especially in the studio. This is a I equate it. I equate class time, especially for ballet. Like this is a laboratory. We are experimenting, and if
Yes.
we blow something up with a Bunsen burner, we're not going to do that. We're going to figure it out. We're going to learn that. So as soon
I
as
love
and it's
that.
this weird idea, I'm not sure if it resonates with you, but also giving those students it's a permission switch almost. I'm
Yeah.
like, you are allowed to try things out and not do well here.
Yeah. 100%.
Now here's where, because this thought came into my head maybe on another episode
Yeah.
where I do say this. I'm like, yep, let's practice in the studio, let's fail, let's make all these, mistakes, let's figure it out together. And then the other part, which is also still a like an encouraging bit of information, is that the studio work prepares us for performance or prepares us for the stage. And I go, oh no, the idea of experimenting in the studio, I don't really want you to experiment on stage necessarily, depending on the
Yeah.
piece. So then I was like, oh, how do I square that circle of,
Yeah.
telling them, give it a try, figure it out. But maybe it's those soft skills of when they fail, if that happens on stage, they'll have already experienced it and they'll sort of have a better idea of how to
Yeah.
come back.
I think both of those things are true. And
Yeah.
I think I tend to make a really big discrepancy between class and the laboratory and rehearsal. And
Right.
think
Okay.
those
Okay.
I think those two things sometimes exist in one class. So this section of class, we're training, we're working, we're figuring
Right.
out. And then when we're going into learning choreography, we're still experimenting. But then when we're like getting it clean for performance time,
There's a switch.
there's a switch, there's a different
Right.
space. And we have that conversation with the kids. We set up those expectations of like, this is play, this is experimenting, this is fail and flail and all the good things to bridge us towards the performance thing.
Right.
Because
Right.
trust me, I'm not putting the thing that they keep failing at over
Oh
here
no.
in the choreography. So I think
Wait. Did everybody hear that? Don't put the thing they're failing at in the choreography.
so. Okay,
Julio said it. Carrie said it. I'm gonna say it. Don't
yes,
do it.
yes, and let's double stamp on that, double click on that of this place. I'm like, when you do it, when you put the thing in that they're still failing at, I have to deduct marks. When you put the thing in that they're consistently good at, even if it's not as impressive, if you will,
Yeah.
as the other thing, I don't deduct marks
No.
because they did it successfully, right? So yes, double stamp on that. Preach. There we go.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. A clean double from everybody. Obsessed.
Up on a high releve with a
Woo!
proper retire. It was funny. We were talking about this in class. I was working on pirouettes yesterday, and my intermediates were getting nitty gritty into pirouettes right away, and they were all. I had beautiful retires, but their releves were so unfortunate. And I just literally stopped them in the middle of the exercise. I'm like, dancers, true or false? Ballet pirouettes don't count when they don't have a high releve. And they're all like, that's true, Miss Carrie. And I'm like, Okay. And it was funny because this particular group, I knew that they were capable of the high releve.
Right.
They just hadn't asked it of themselves yet. So
Right.
full stop. And then all of a sudden I'm like, see, there we go. And I had some decent releves coming down the tube, but I was like, dudes, like, nope, we're starting for like releves.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the kids aren't mind readers. Like, I think we have
Oh,
to
yeah.
be super, super, um, you have to be really clear in your expectations all the time
Right.
because the human body wants to take the easiest route. That's
A
how our
hundred percent.
brain is designed. And so if you really want the kids to climb up the ladder of achievement and reach their level of their own personal level of excellence, you have to ask it of them and
Mhm.
all the time.
Right. Yeah. And I just think about the idea of clarity as kindness.
Oh, yes. It's also adding to that space of if the kids don't know what they're working towards,
Yes.
if they don't know what the success criteria is.
Oh my gosh, I love that for success
Yeah,
criteria.
so there's my master's in arts education coming out to haunt you right there. So
No, I'm obsessed with that.
yeah,
I
it's
love that. I think I've been doing that subconsciously, but to put a title to it is so
yeah.
helpful.
Oh yeah, because we all know as educators, we've been teaching long enough that we know what right is.
Right.
We know. But I often make the kids do it. So I'll find, so say we're in pirouettes, I'll find an exemplary picture or video of a pirouette. Well, I'll have them watch it in class and we have a discussion about, okay, what makes that successful?
Right.
What makes that right? Because more often than not, they know too. And if they don't know, it provided me the opportunity of learning, oh, that's on me. I
Yeah.
didn't teach them it.
Right.
They're trying and they're trying to get their bodies to do it, but if they don't actually be able to put it in words and describe it to me, they actually don't know and they're going to have a harder time of it.
Yeah.
And so it can be a really deep learning experience. And the other part of it that I love is the kids get a say and a voice in
Yeah.
it because there's a heavy, heavy link between motivation and them having a sense of choice or voice in it.
A hundred
So when you
percent.
open that door and they get to say, oh, well, I think it's the high releve, Miss Carrie, or it's the pointed foot in the retire, or it's the tall posture, or all the things, you get to celebrate what they know. And then you have a list. And then what's super great about it is when they don't do the thing, you can stop and be like, hey, I thought we all agreed that this was one of our success criteria, and I don't see it happening. So you guys tell me what's going on,
Right. Right.
right? And so there's the little accountability moment
Yeah.
built in too.
Yeah.
So it can be really meaningful to the kids, and because they got to say have their voice there, they quote unquote buy into it a little bit
A
more.
hundred percent.
And you're getting what you need to help them be
Yeah.
successful in exams or competition land or whatever your priority is for your studio,
For
right?
sure. And I
Yeah.
think too, by working together in that way, one, I love how you slow down class and you'll find an example
Mhm.
to show them and then have a discussion, which I know, again, some folks might bristle against or feel itchy just because you're like, oh, you're slowing down, you're taking time out. But for those kids who are visual learners, being able to see how it's done, I know for myself is like so helpful. And
Totally.
also that discussion as a group builds that feeling of teammates as opposed to competition, right? We're all deciding together what a proper pirouette looks like, and we're all bringing the answers. It's not one person putting up their hand who's like nailing everything off, and everyone goes, "Oh, she's the best," or "Oh, that's
Yeah.
because they're so good at turning."
Yes.
It creates a camaraderie, which I think is really important as well.
So important.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and it helps you sort of circumvent the favoritism conversation too, because you've used a video versus the kid in class that everybody knows is the best at pirouettes. You're not
right,
using them as the exemplary. And because kids perceive that as favoritism, even when it's not
right.
favoritism. Yeah,
Because I'm also not going to pick that kid out for jumps, probably.
so true.
But oh,
So
now there
true.
could be kids who are like a both, but and you also want to spread the wealth. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
like the idea of using an outside image again.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
to alleviate that favoritism. We're going to go back in time because I want to circle back to a comment you made while we were chatting about how you teach your class now. And you had mentioned that it's not how you'd always approached class. And I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of educators, myself included, who have really evolved
Mm.
into a more scientific based, human first,
Mm.
like chaos
Mm.
coordinator type of educator. And we're also seeing the results of that. Like, I
Mm.
think for me, that's the biggest thing where I can see the results in my students after the changes that I've made. So can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit more about for yourself what that journey looked like in your teaching evolution and how it sort of came about?
Yeah. So gosh, let's see, about 15 years ago. So I transitioned from teaching in the private sector at a competitive dance studio to teaching and running a dance program in a school.
Okay.
So it was grades 4 through 12, and the kids took supplementary training in, there was a bunch of different things. There was hockey, soccer, golf, and then dance.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And so when I entered that program, the idea behind it was to quote unquote make the dancers or the athletes, student athletes, we would call them, stronger and smarter for when they went back to their home studios, because all the kids that entered the program also danced at a studio in the city that I lived in.
Okay.
So it was a little bit of a hybrid of these half day programs that we see lots
Yes.
in our dance markets now. But it was a little less intense because they had a certain amount of hours with me during the week, and then they went to their home studios. So when I was developing this, and I can't just be what the studios are. I have to fill a different space for these kids
Right.
so
Right.
that A, they want to come, and B, that I'm being of benefit to them, because in my brain was like, they don't need another jazz class
Right.
necessarily.
Right.
So I had to step back and really reflect on my teaching and what the kids were going to need from this program. And it just forced me to come into a space of like, okay, I get to slow down because our program didn't do exams. It also
Right.
didn't compete. We did community performances.
Yeah.
And so I had more time in my schedule to start to dig deep into these theories of, okay, well, what is meaningful learning for kids? And because I was in the education world, I
Hmm.
also had to prove my outcomes. I had to prove my curriculum because I could get audited at any time by Alberta Ed to be like, okay, are you actually fulfilling the requirements that are laid out by this course?
Right.
And so it just kind of changes your head,
Yeah.
um, and you come at it in such a different way. And I loved that time. And just like you said, the benefits that my students saw, you could see when they were at their home studios, you could see what kids were coming to my program. After about year 3 or 4, all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's an academy kid. That's an academy kid. All right. And it was just because of the approach and the different and the time that they got to spend there.
Right.
So now I'm back in the private sector, and it's been very much that has just stayed with me.
Yeah.
And then during this last 3 years, I've started my master's program, and it's been so fascinating because lots of the things I was innately pulled to or
Hmm.
felt were beneficial have so much research behind
Oh,
them.
that's so nice.
Yeah, so it's been so great. And I know we discussed earlier Mr. Austin and
Yes.
how he is very research based as well. And I felt such a pull to him as well because I'm like, it's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research, and I think a lot of dance educators don't necessarily have access to it or
Right.
have thought about that they want
Right.
access to it. Sometimes reading a journal article isn't very fun.
No, it's
But
not.
no, but you can have, like you and I are doing right now, we can have conversations with fellow educators about like,
Yeah.
okay, this actually has fundamental research behind it.
Yeah.
You're seeing the results in your kids, and then there's actually science behind it too.
Right.
And it's just stayed with me. And as I come back into the private sector, it's something that I've tried to just keep with me and
Mhm.
balance it with the fact that now I have an exam to get the kids ready for or a competition number. And
Yeah. Because
yeah.
I think too that's a it it's a common tension
Mm,
of maybe
mhm.
educators who relate to, well, what I've been talking about on this podcast with like half my guests basically about how some of us are choosing to use our time in the studio. And I'm sure there are a lot of, like I say, there's a lot of educators that relate to that. And then there's a part of them that says, yeah, but I don't have enough blank, whatever that might be. And probably time is the thing that a lot of educators and or choreographers might feel. And I get that because like you mentioned, like you're in that exact same, position. And so balancing the research-based, human first, sort of like not necessarily student-led, but student-involved sort of learning with the time crunch of a nutcracker or exams. It seems like a dichotomy or a Venn diagram that does not overlap of having that sort of laboratory space and then prepping for something like a rehearsal. So how do you marry those two ideas when you're teaching?
So I have a really big belief that if the technique is learned and understood, the choreography, the exam, the nutcracker will fall into place. Yes.
Yes. Say it yes, louder.
Louder for the people in the back seats. So there is.
Yes. Oh my, sorry. I'm just,
No, I'm with you. So it's understanding that slowing down and having the kids actually understand what a plie is.
Yes.
In its most functional form will make everything that has a plie in it, which is everything, better.
Truly. Yeah.
If a dancer actually understands the functional movement of a battement frappe, you can put a battement frappe movement anywhere you need, which is actually a lot of places in ballet.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll be fine. They'll be able to pick it up. But when they only know the battement frappe in the context of their grade 6 battement frappe exercise, they can't transfer it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's really allowing yourself to understand that syllabus, the choreography is the end product.
Yeah.
And we have to set the kids up for success by having them have meaningful experiences with what a plie is, what a battement frappe is, what a whatever is, so that they can carry it forward to them. And so you just have to let yourself make time. And like I said earlier, trust me, my whole class isn't chaos.
No.
There are times where I'm like, Kate, look at drill and kill time, friends. Let's go.
Right.
And then there's times where we're around my computer having a conversation, creating success criteria.
Yes.
And that's also, once we've created success criteria, that's not every class. It's now done for that exercise, and we can use it as the tool as we go on.
Totally.
So it is, and I will say there's days that I'm not perfect at it.
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
But it's always part of the plan, part of my intention for walking into with the kids.
Yeah.
So it's your words of balancing act is exactly it, but you have to give yourself permission and trust that not doing the set exercise right away and letting yourself sit in the messy of like, oh, wow, what does this look like? It will be more beneficial to them. And when the set exercise time comes, they'll pick it up.
Yeah. I've like distilled it down to, which is the mantra of all my classes, regardless if it's like for exams or choreography. So I'm like, it's the difference between learning a dance and learning how to dance.
Oh, so true.
Because I felt like I didn't know how to do a tendu until I was 20. I was doing tendus.
Yes.
I didn't know how to do a tendu until I was like 21. And I'm like, ew, gross, you guys.
I had such struggles with my feet. Like I have a difficult foot. It's not a natural. But I tell you, when I had to start teaching baby ballet, do you know how much better my feet got?
Oh, 100%.
And I was the same as you. I was like 20 and I'm like, damn.
I was like, oh, this is what they mean by use your inner thigh. I was like, got it. I was like,
this
okay.
Is what they mean by articulate your arches. Oh.
and now, and it's, again, I take my experiences, even if they've happened in adulthood, and I think about how can I transfer this to a 12-year-old so that 12-year-old understands how to do that tendu so that they aren't 20 and figuring, like, I'm like, that's not when I want you to figure it out. Yeah, and I think I really appreciate you saying about working on the success criteria first, as opposed to the set syllabus, because I felt I did exams, I did RAD, and I felt like I know where my head and my arm goes and everything about that's going to be perfect. But then my center work struggled so hard because I didn't I wasn't dancing. I knew the exercises like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But the fundamental technique underneath them just wasn't as strong as it could have been
Yeah.
for success. And so I did fine, but
Yeah.
like not great.
Well, and that's the thing. You'll do fine. Like the
Yeah,
kids, well, and to be honest with you, um, some kids are wildly successful and have had no meaningful learning experiences.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yes,
right. They're just those kids that are just really, they have an eye, they're really good mimics, and they have a very innate body awareness.
right.
But the vast majority of our students do not.
Yeah,
And the little peanut in the background that literally is 15 and still can't figure out her rights and her left. She's still like literally doing this in the corner. That's who we also have to teach
yeah,
for. And the ones that are already really body aware will still benefit
of course.
from us having like it evens the playing field for those two kids when we go, okay, friends, what's the success criteria here? So one might not be able to do it as well as the other initially, but they're both having the same learning experience of having to figure it out.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. And I think that also makes the equity in class feel better because that,
Yeah.
that student who maybe isn't as naturally, in tune or, as successful in ballet as opposed to the kids who maybe are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said. It really levels the playing field.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that you've chosen to do a master's.
Yeah.
But like you said, you're a professional continuing education junkie, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
And I know that your like students also appreciate it, even if they maybe don't show it all the time or they don't know.
Or don't understand. Yeah. I had a little peanut last night ask me, what does a master's mean?
Like I'm paying a lot of money to know what I innately sort of know.
Yes. Yeah. So true. Yeah.
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 Oh,
No, master's has honestly just been a genuine bucket list of mine
yeah.
for a long time. And when my children were small and I was busy raising kids, I just really I didn't have time to fit it in.
Yeah.
Um, and when my son graduated high school that year, I said to my hubby, I said, I found a master's program and I'm going to apply for it. Let's just see.
Yeah.
And I got in and I was like, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah. Because we're doing this now.
I know it's like, okay. And it was only until my son was at that age and my daughter, she was also away at university and being out, she went to University of Toronto, and when I would go to visit her, being back in academia a little bit, I was like, oh, I've always loved school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so just kind of reinforced. And because my kids were at that age, I was like, okay, I think I have time,
Right. Yes.
girl, to fit this in now. And it's been a really wonderful experience. It's hard. My
Yeah.
first semester kicked my butt because it'd been like, I don't know, 20 years since I'd been in like proper school.
Right.
And so writing a critical analysis paper, I literally, Leslie, I'm not gonna lie, Googled how to write a critical analysis. I don't know.
100%. I know
Yeah.
I had to write 2 essays
Yeah.
in the last, I guess, 18 months. And I was like, I haven't done this in a hot minute. What's the process for this again? How do I get all the thoughts?
It's like that part of the brain that you have to bring forward from like English 30 in high school.
And then I was like, they didn't say and one was sort of, I wrote a paper about sort of technology and how it's impacting kids and how dance can assist with sort of lessening screen time and whatnot. And I was like, how do I write a footnote? I was like, how am I like referring to this stuff?
Right site.
Yeah. I was like, oh my word. But I secretly enjoyed it, even though
Well, it's that part
flailing.
of failing and flailing, just
Totally.
like your kids. And I think that's also lovely because it reminds you, oh, this is how the kids feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially too, where I was learning online for however many 6 to 8 hours. And then I'd have to go to the studio and I'm just like, I don't wanna. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I get it, you guys. I really get it.
Yeah. That genuine, I don't want. I love it, but I don't wanna. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of I love it, but I don't wanna.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really, I think it's really important to be okay with that and to say, because that's what you have to do as the educator. I mean, I enjoy my job, so I really like going most days, and so do the kids, right? But they're also tired and,
Yeah.
stressed and burnt out, and depending on their age, hormones, and
Yeah.
what's happening outside of the studio. And
Yeah.
whenever I'm faced with those sort of that information that they give me in the form of maybe a complaint-ish kind of vibe,
Yeah.
I want to recognize that and say, yes, I totally hear you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you still have to be a ballet class. So we've got to
Yeah.
figure out how,
Yeah.
we got to figure out how that, and I think that's what most people mean. I get a little bit worked up about these like tropes and memes that we see about dance where it's like your 100% looks different like every day, but like that's a really cute saying, but what does
Yeah.
that mean in practice? And what it means is like,
Yes.
yeah, show up when you're tired, and however you get through that class is how you're going to get through that class.
100%. So, you know this a little bit, but my son had a liver transplant
Mhm.
here, and he's just starting to go back to school this year. And he was sitting here yesterday, not feeling really good. And I was super proud of him because he was initially, I was like, oh, he's not going to go. He's not going to go. And his professor is like, this is a you show up to every class kind of course. And that's the other piece. You
Gotcha.
have to set up kids for that because when you have a job,
Yes.
when you go to university, they expect you to be there every time.
And if you're not, it will be reflected in
Correct. In
some way.
XYZ, 100%. So he got himself together and he put his shoes on. He's like, okay, let's go. And I went, bud, going and maybe not being able to complete it, maybe having to leave early, or maybe just like sitting there and not being as active as you normally are
Yeah.
is better
Yeah.
than not going.
Yes. Yeah.
And sort of helping him with that lesson. And it's going back to what you said, I think earlier, like dance doesn't just teach kids dance,
Yeah.
right? We're also teaching them these skills of how to be successful elsewhere and stuff like that. And that is one of those moments. And so, yeah, I appreciate sometimes the meme thing, it oversimplifies the reality of what it is.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
it's talking about the end goal, and then the knowledge
Yeah.
gap is like, okay, great, but like, what does that actually mean? How do I take actionable steps to
Yeah.
like understand that or get that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something spicy.
Ooh.
Well, I was just, I don't necessarily want to go down this rabbit hole, but I was like, oh, and I think this happens everywhere, but I think there's a bit of toxic positivity
Mm.
really infiltrating the online dance space.
Mhm.
Ooh, I look forward to
Yeah.
your angry emails.
Well, it goes back to that piece of like social media as a highlight reel.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And I think it's a disservice to students because when things do get hard, when they do get sticky, when they have a bad day, when they don't do well in class, when they don't get the mark that they want, or any of those things, they plummet so much more heavily because they're like, well, social media says that this should be all pussy willows and roses,
yeah, yeah,
right? And we know.
yeah,
And that's why I think it's part of our responsibility to educate them on that piece too,
totally.
and help them through
Yeah,
those bits.
yeah, because
You
they're not posting their fails on their Instagram.
know, no, they're not. And I
Like,
think even myself, I'm like, even when I
oh
try
yeah,
to keep it real, it's still curated. I'm still
yes,
edited,
yeah,
I do try to have a very honest presence out there,
yeah.
but
But it is like you say, curated.
yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, that's a whole. I gotta. So if there's a dance and social media human out there, I think that's
yeah,
really a conversation that one I want to have, and I think a lot of people also
yeah.
want to have.
Yeah, it would be one filled with curiosity for sure, for sure, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are some words that keep coming up, and like balance, curiosity, like all these words. It's making me happy.
Yeah.
We're gonna move into. Thank you. Everything's been so lovely, and I know I could talk to you forever, but we're gonna move into my not a lightning round, where I ask questions that I'm genuinely curious about.
Great.
Okay, great. This is my favorite question. Okay.
Hey.
Because you teach so much ballet,
Mhm.
I would like to know for you in class, like you taking class, what is
Okay,
your favorite bar exercise to do?
that's such a hard one,
Is
Leslie.
it because okay.
Can I
I
have more
mean,
than
I
one?
like a lot, but like the one where you're like, yeah, let's get into
Okay.
it.
Honestly, Ronde de Jambe. I love the flow of it. I love that it's really focused on me finding my turnout. I love that it's usually a bit more dancey with our port de
Okay,
bras.
okay.
Usually a back bend in it somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so just so you know, you're in very good company because both Austin and I were like, Ron Jam. So now
Very
every
good.
guest, I'm like secretly like, are you going to join our club? Are you going to join the Ron Jam club? Oh my gosh, that's so good.
I love
And
it. Yeah.
do you find that your students don't particularly, because my students do not enjoy doing Ron Jam, and I'm like, too bad. It's my favorite. We're doing it. Do you find that?
Hmm.
Or is there something they dislike more?
No. Yeah, I find my kids just don't like bark.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I usually have a lot of convincing of like bar, like why is bar beneficial or
Right.
whatever. And I intentionally with a lot of my students now, I don't spend a lot of time at the bar.
Right.
I spend a little intentional time and then I get them into the center. And so bar changes a lot. And so I think that that's why maybe I haven't had them settle on whether they dislike or like ronde de jambes
Which is
because it
great.
changes a lot. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to
Yeah.
get your name
I
on
love
it.
asking that ballet question.
Yeah.
Is there a song that you can turn on if you're having a bad day and it will turn Carrie's mood around, or it never fails to get you like hyped up?
Yeah. Okay. I can't even remember the name of what it's called. It's Lionel Richie. All night long?
All night long. Incredible. That's a we got to compile a playlist. That's what I should
We
do. I'm going to
should.
compile a playlist of everybody's favorite songs. That
Yeah,
is a good one. You have to
always.
dance if that song comes on.
100%. The other day I put it on while I was cleaning our house and I was just like living my
I
best
know.
life.
That's what my sister and I deep cleaned my house earlier this week, and she literally made us a playlist because that's the only way we can get focused. And she was like, "Let me lay it out for you. We start with Broadway, then we move to Disney, then it moves to Muppets, and then to Flight of the Conchords." And I was like, "So we're
But
not going to get any work done because we will just be performing a concert in my
because
living room."
innately you start choreographing. I was literally choreographing with my broom.
Right? And my sister's like, less dancing,
Great.
more cleaning. I'm like, you're the one who made the playlist, man. This is on you, not me. That's
I
great.
love
All
that.
night long, Lionel Richie. That's a very, very good one.
Yeah.
Oh, we know that many a dance teacher has a caffeine
Yes.
enjoyment. I won't say problem. What's your go-to coffee order?
Okay, so I make a homemade almond flavored syrup, like a sugar syrup.
Okay.
So my favorite thing on the planet is a large black coffee with like a shot of my homemade almond syrup. I am known to have a little jar of it in my backpack when I'm out in the universe, so that I can
Ooh,
always have it with me because I love it.
yeah,
It is my addiction. So yeah,
that's
so black
brilliant.
coffee. Yeah, and I am a coffee girl.
Yeah.
It's like ritualistic for me in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. I was gonna say your kids can't like bring that for you, but
No,
you'll
but they
know.
always bring me a black coffee and I'll
That's
have the
true. And
syrup
then
with
because
me.
you're gonna bring that with you. So you're like, I'm gonna just
It's actually such a trouble, a pain point for me when I adjudicate because I fly mostly and
oh
you can't
right.
bring extra liquids with you. And so I'm always like, I have to go without my almond syrup.
Yeah. Oh
But that's okay.
no.
I survive.
She's like, barely, but I do it. Um, do you have a piece of a piece of art? And when I say a piece of art or an artist, it can be a painting, it can be a television show, it can be um, music from anywhere. Is there any piece of art that has inspired you throughout your career, or maybe to make a certain piece?
Last Christmas, 2 Christmas ago, actually, I took my daughter on a trip to New York for her graduating university present. And backtrack, decade ago, we were in Paris on a family trip, and we missed the museum that has all the Degas work in it.
Oh,
And I was so heartbroken. It
yeah.
was a bit of a complicated situation that we didn't get to Museum d'Orsay to go see them.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in New York, I think it was the Met, because we went to a lot of museums because my daughter's a museum junkie just like I am. I think it was the Met. They had a massive Degas exhibit.
Oh,
And I just think because Degas, not that he's necessarily directly inspired a piece, but it's just so quintessential ballet history
yes.
in
Yes.
those pictures. It
Yeah.
was very, I got super excited and super emotional. And I sat in that room where the Degas work was for a long time and just sort of like enjoyed it and what it
Yeah.
has meant to art as well to ballet. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say all of the Degas work and getting to
Yeah.
actually see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you because I did see the Degas work in Paris and the little dancer and all the, you're seeing something that you had as a calendar, right? That you got for
Yes.
Christmas that you've had in your bedroom or whatever.
Someone bought that for you.
A
Yeah.
100%. And then you're actually standing in the room with that artwork. I was like a maniac, just crying my eyes out. And of course, people are looking at me and I'm like, well, you don't know my story. Like, you have no idea why this
Yeah.
is impactful. So I'm like, I'm just going to live my life. But the
Yeah.
same way where you're just sort of in awe of like, it
Yeah.
feels like a culmination of a lot of things when you see those pieces, if you're a dancer and especially a ballet dancer.
And totally. And ballet is old.
Yeah.
It's been around for such a long time. And my ballet director at the studio that I work at, we're very protective of that piece of it because
Mhm.
it's important for the kids to know where it's come from and it's very deep historical and sometimes, in our world of diversity and inclusivity and all those very wonderful things. We also have to protect where things come from so that we understand.
Yes.
If we understand the roots, it helps us understand the future.
Yeah. And that goes
Yeah,
for all the genres.
oh, for sure.
Big
For
time.
certain.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm so about history on jazz, particularly jazz and ballet history, because that's the stuff I feel I understand. And
Yeah.
when kids don't know who George Balanchine is or Bob Fosse, I get
Oh,
inside a little.
I think I have a whole lesson probably each year, either with a musical theater group or a jazz group, where I'm like, I'm going to show you the two clips I found of Bob Fosse. Actually, no, there's three now that I know of.
Yeah.
Because it's important to know what has come before,
Yes.
I
For,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
for certain. I
Yeah.
just think it is. So yeah. Yeah. When kids do a Bob Fosse piece at competition and we're in our little adjudicator, not necessarily Bob Fosse, where what looks to be a Fosse inspired.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always like, I sure hope your teacher has taught you about the wonderful Mr. Bob Fosse. I always
Right.
open that door because if they haven't, then that's an opportunity that I've now given them as a fellow educator of
A
like,
hundred
here's your
percent.
chance. Like you've done a good job of it. So let's have a chit chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a Bob Fosse expert. Maybe I can find somebody from the Bob Fosse. Did you watch the television show?
Yeah, I did.
Fosse Verdon? Yeah, it was
It was
really
so
good.
good. Do you follow the Vernon Fosse legacy on
Yes, I do. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they're
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, like,
someone from there.
oh yeah, oh
I
yeah.
had a thought moment where I was like, I'm gonna audition and go to that. And then I'm like, wait, Carrie, you're
Oh,
on
you're not the only one. You're not alone at all.
yeah. Like,
I know.
wait,
I'm like, maybe I'll
you
just
have
start with
bills to pay.
buying a pair of Laducas for myself and like practicing around
I know.
first.
Okay. I
Yeah,
have to, this is the side story. So I started, now that I live, so I moved from that small town in Alberta to Calgary.
yeah,
And there is actually like ballroom dance lessons here. And so a really good friend of mine has started taking Latin ballroom dances. We've been doing it for like about a year or so now. Like changing my life, like being in ballroom heels
yes,
changed my life. It's
yeah,
such a new experience. And to feel like a student and like we were talking before, knowing how to fail, the struggle bus. Oh yeah. But it's so fun. It's
yeah,
so fun. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways,
Dancing in heels is next level
it's next level.
for this
Yeah.
modern dancer who only wants to dance barefoot 24/7.
I feel yeah.
Teaching barefoot like as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. That weight shift, I can't.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
lot.
hard. I'm still a year later, I'm still
For sure.
as soon as he introduces a new pattern, I'm like, And
Yeah.
I start the
Yeah.
practice
The
again.
journey. That's
Yeah,
such a good practice as educators to
yeah, it
be
is.
new at something. I don't enjoy it.
Mm.
And you're very brave and courageous to do it.
Well, if it wasn't fun and if it wasn't with one of my dearest friends, it probably
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have something? This is a question I really like to ask
wouldn't.
because folks find it difficult. I mean, it might be because I'm wording it in not quite correctly. I'm curious to know if you've uncovered anything about yourself or about your personality that's maybe less than positive or ugly, these quote unquote ugly traits that you've maybe recognized in yourself that you realized through dance.
Well, I think many dancers, particularly the ones that get pulled into ballet land, have a pretty significant perfectionist tendency.
Mm-hmm.
And while perfectionism can be a wonderful tool
Mm-hmm.
if you have it managed and you understand that part about yourself,
Yeah.
I also think that there was a significant amount of time when I was about 15, 16, 17 that it did not serve me. And
Right.
it was a really hard time. And I probably didn't walk through my dance training in the most productive way during that time because I
Right.
was just so struggling with, well, why can't I be perfect at this? Why can't I feel XYZ in
Yeah.
that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the perfectionism thing, and that's a journey. And I don't even think then related to that is that people pleasing part of just like
Yes.
wanting to
Yes.
do what your teachers tell you. And if your teachers don't talk to you, you're upset or, that whole
Yeah.
struggle
Yeah. Yeah.
bus. And I only think I don't think I really settled into having it be a productive part of my personality until like my 40s,
Yeah.
my 35 above, where I was like,
Okay.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I can trust myself now. I think it's only been the last decade that I can actually, maybe even less than that, be able to confidently say, I'm really good at my job. It took me a long
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Even when people would tell me I was, or when you get positive feedback or whatever, it was
Yeah.
always like, oh, and I think now at this stage of life, I can accept a compliment. It's something I try to teach my students to do. I'm like, no, when someone gives you a compliment, it's coming from an honest place. Accept
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
actually accept it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's taken me a long time to be able to plant my 2 feet on the ground and say, no, I'm actually really good at my job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I recently said that with a bit of humor, but also like, oh no, I like that I can really believe it now. And you make a good point of you knowing it as opposed to having other folks tell
totally.
you.
Yes.
Um,
And
yeah,
not to
I
be
think a lot of people will
embarrassed.
resonate with that.
Totally. And not to be embarrassed because there's this stillest tiny snippet of me that like, oh wait, am I sounding like an arrogant person
Yes. Yes.
by saying that? Like to be
Yeah.
able to like let that piece go and just let it stand there in the universe.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
Yeah, it's true. We all need to give ourselves more credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I did prove it, which was great. It's not like I'm going out here not proving it. And
Yeah.
that also gives my brain, that also allows me to know, like, oh,
Yeah.
everything, we're all on this, we're all seeing the same thing. We're all sort
Yeah.
of like in it together. Yeah. The perfectionism, people pleaserness has been again another theme of dancers and folks that I've talked to on the podcast, which again is as something I won't talk about today, but I always joke that my master's thesis would be, does dance create type A perfectionist people pleasers, or does it draw them? Or
Yeah.
both, or a little
Chicken
bit
and
of
the
both.
egg.
It's a whole, we could really go down a rabbit hole. And
It
also, I
would,
don't know how you quantify. So it would be, it's a
yes.
bit of a rhetorical question, but it's a very interesting one to me.
It would open up a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And, as I enter my dissertation year where I have to do a research project,
Uh,
I would lean into that you would definitely need some qualitative methodology and probably
right?
some grounded theory, and it would be very uh, about people's perceptions versus like
Yes.
statistics and frequencies and that
Yeah,
kind of hoo-ha. Because yeah, the mental space is really hard to measure.
it
And
is.
I don't
Yeah.
think when I think back, I'm like, what was it? What did I have first? Was I a perfectionist first or was I a dancer first? Like I was to think back, especially for the little peanuts that when you start dance at 4, you don't know.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
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 And it's a brain worm that I think about frequently.
Yeah.
It's fun to think about. Okay. Last question
Okay.
is, if you have one piece, I mean, there has been so much advice that you've given us today, but if there's like a Miss Carrie nugget or word of wisdom, something I always say to my kids, especially when we're learning, I'll say, everything's made up and the points don't matter. Like if there's sort of something like a Miss Carrie nugget, wisdom, what
Hmm.
can you share with our audience? What can you leave with them today?
That I give to my students or that I give to fellow educators?
Dealer's choice. You can choose
Ooh.
who you would like to give your advice to.
Um, I think today, because I feel like who's listening to this conversation is very much fellow educators. I
Mhm.
think I'll sort of speak to that space of like, trust your gut and be open to chaos.
Ooh, trust
Structure
your
chaos.
gut and be the open. I think part one, people will be like, yeah. And then part two, they'll be like,
Uh,
ugh, which is
hence
also
why they're
fine.
together. Hence why they're together.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You can tell your teacher, you're like, I'm gonna offer this and this together at the same time.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like if you ask my kids, they would say I parent like that because my son is always like, why does it have to be like a message, like a learning moment, mom? I'm just like, because.
Also, it's my job. It's like
Yeah.
truly my job to
Yeah.
get you ready for life.
Yeah, I think he's
Well,
just 19 and tired of my learning moments.
fair, fair. Fair. We see that. We get it. I knew this was going to be an incredible conversation. I want to thank you so much for your time, Carrie. If I know folks will be inspired and encouraged listening to you, is there anywhere on social media that people can find you and follow you?
100%. I am on Instagram and Facebook, and I also have a website. So my website is carrierobins.com, 1B in the Robins. And you can find me on Instagram. It's my full name, Carrie Tetro Robins. So
Perfect. We will have all that information linked below
yeah,
in the YouTube information so folks can find Carrie straight away because she's awesome and maybe she'll adjudicate your kiddos sometime this season and you'll be very, very lucky because she's
oh, thank
fabulous
you.
and we had a blast. That was, yeah,
Thank you.
even in a snowstorm, it was still, it was still
Oh,
fun.
that's right. Yes, we did have the snowstorm.
We did have a
Yeah,
snowstorm.
we
Yeah,
did have
fun
snowstorm. But
times.
so open. Me, like I am so willing and open to share and have conversations. It's one of my favorite things to do. So
Awesome. Best
yeah,
of luck with your master's and dissertation. That's going to be a lot of hard work.
thank you.
And we're all excited to see what comes of it. I will want to check back in and find out what you wrote about and what you defend your thesis. That'll be really exciting.
I will be happy to share when the time comes around. Talk to me this time next year when I'm done.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And I want to thank everybody for listening and watching the Dancing Through It podcast. We will be back here next week with another episode, and we will see you there. Thanks.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Dancing Through It. Connect with the Dancing Through It community over on Instagram and follow me at Leslie Cooney.
I know, and this is where I was sort of like, oh, this is going to be the awkward part. It's sort of like
I know it is.
comp.
We'll get into it. It'll be
It's like when
fine.
you're at comp and they read your bio and you're sitting there like,
You've
you're
never
like,
felt
I'm dying.
dumber.
I'm dying.